All right, welcome to Kyoto, Japan. Took my first ever bullet train to get here from Tokyo, and those things are super sleek. I just really like how the exterior of those things look. It's like really smooth, and it's crazy. You travel, man, I don't know the exact number, but I think it's like over 200 miles per hour, and super smooth, no discomfort at all on the whole entire trip. And you get there, and from Tokyo to Kyoto is about 2.5 hours, so not bad whatsoever. So we just checked into our hotel, and now we're gonna walk around, gather some first impressions of the city. We walked for about 7 minutes past our hotels and already ran into a shrine and a temple, and I heard that Kyoto is very dense with many shrines and many temples throughout the city itself, so probably gonna see a lot more of that. We have entered the premises of the Kyoto Imperial Palace. This whole facility is where the Emperor of Japan lived for about 500 years until 1869, when the Emperor's residency moved to Tokyo. So I thought this was going to be just a regular side quest where we walk around for about 20 minutes and then leave, but I thoroughly underestimated the scale of this place. Like, there's a building for literally everything. A ceremony building, a building for dining, a building for sleeping, a building for public duties. Not just rooms, but full-on buildings. And through these red gates right here was presumably the most famous place in the palace, and I'm just saying that because it seemed like the most grand place on the grounds, but this is the ceremonial palace. And then adjacent to the Imperial Palace, they of course have a traditional Japanese gardens with one of the coolest bridges I have ever seen. Just leaving the Kyoto Imperial Palace, and it's pretty insane how big that whole facility is, and it was really cool to walk around it because the one where the Emperor currently resides in Tokyo, they have that closed to the public. I think like maybe twice a year you can see that one, but I can't even imagine how big the current residency of the Emperor is if the old one over here was just so massive. After the Kyoto Imperial Palace, I walked around some more and I saw a Japanese Catholic church, and Christianity happens to be the third most popular religion in the country of Japan. Then I saw the Kyoto City Hall, which low-key reminded me of a Minecraft character. And then I did some shopping, which was cool, but definitely not as cool as this crab right here. About to engage in Japan's national sport, which happens to be sumo wrestling. I never in my life thought that I would watch sumo wrestling, but here we are. I'm pretty excited to watch it. So it's actually kind of hard to watch an actual sumo wrestling match, but what they do is they do a lot of shows, and you can basically, I think they kind of teach you about sumo wrestling. They show you some stuff too. I don't really know exactly the full thing, but it's not an actual match, and it's more like a show experience. The sumo show was on a specific floor of a mall that was within this huge shopping center that I was in earlier. So low-key, it was kind of hard to find, but we found the club. And then we got served this all-you-could-eat hot pot, which sounded great, except the soup was way too hot. I could barely eat it. I'm not going to lie, I had to put ice cubes in it. But the show started with some geisha dancing, which is a traditional Japanese performance with subtle, graceful movements. Look at that. They got the fans there too. It's classic. And then after the geisha dancing, they introduced us to the two sumo wrestlers, which low-key, I thought they were going to be a little bit bigger, but I guess they are retired for the show. So makes sense. They showed us some of their techniques. Hey, look at that movement right there. They then went over the rules of sumo, and finally, it was time to let the boys cook. Alright, so you guys think this is cool and all, but you haven't even seen the main event. After this match, they brought out this new guy to challenge these wrestlers, and yeah, safe to say this new guy isn't someone you'd want to mess with. My name is Bryce Egan.
Bryce, tell us, where are you from?
Ohio!
Bryce! Tell us, who do you want to challenge? Kiyosaki or Kyoyanagi?
I want this guy.
Kyoyanagi! Okay! Oh! Gambare! 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 Gambare!
I'm here with Bryce Egan, the man that wrestled the sumo wrestler. Bryce, what were your initial thoughts after losing in about 12.3 seconds?
Well, I just want to make it clear that I did hit above. I hit the over on time spent in the ring with him. Most of the people probably lasted 5 seconds.
He was trolling you, though. What do you have to say about that?
I mean, he was very well rested. I fought the one guy that didn't have to fight anyone else, so he was very well rested, and he was genuinely trying for those 12 seconds. The other guy just wasn't trying at all.
So do you think if you have another attempt in 2 months?
Yeah, I also like have a hanging toenail on my left foot. So
can we see it?
Yeah.
All right. So in 2 months, if you train, do you think you can beat him?
Yeah, probably. I just need to work on my start, and after I work on my start, I think I'll be in a solid state to defeat my opponent next time.
Okay.
Not gonna lie, my shoulder was really aching after this. Like, look at how hard I went right at the beginning. And I literally hit a brick wall. Like, my delusional self-belief really thought I could move him back a little bit, but I obviously just have way too much confidence in myself. Alright, get this off the screen, man. I'm sick of watching this. Thank you. After the sumo wrestling show, we just kind of explored the town at night. We're hanging out. We walk through some alleys. You know, it's the typical Japan night. Good morning from Kyoto. Today, for the next 8 hours, we're going to be seeing a lot of the famous sites around the city. To start it off, we are going to see the Kiyomizu Buddhist Temple. Man, I just sound mad depressed for some reason. I have no idea why. But once we arrived at the temple, we climbed up a steep incline, and then we got our first glimpses of the temple area itself. Whoa, that's pretty cool right there. They had a pagoda, which is this tiered tower, some classic Asian architecture right there. And then we saw these school kids walking up the stairs, and we figured they knew where they were going, so we followed them. And they led us to this balcony or stage area with a phenomenal view of the city of Kyoto. The temple itself is in a really beautiful area. It's surrounded by all these trees. And then just over there, you can actually get a glimpse of the city of Kyoto because this temple, it's on a cliff, so you can kind of look over the city. While we were taking in the views of the city, I spotted something else very intriguing, a pagoda just lurking within the trees. And it seemed quite mysterious, so I ended up walking toward the general direction, and we got lost at least twice, but eventually we made it to the pagoda. Let's go. And it's pretty sweet too, because you get a viewpoint of the main temple and stage area that we were at before.
It's called Nishiki Temple from the 15th century.
Alright, I just visited the, I gotta pull up the pronunciation real quick, the Sanjūsangendō Temple, and it's gotta be the most unique interior of the Buddhist temples that I've seen here in Japan. They have over 1,000 statues throughout the whole entire interior of the temple, and this also happens to be the longest temple in all of Japan. There was no filming allowed inside of the temple itself, but the scale is just unreal. Once again, over 1,000 Buddhist statues all fit in there. And then once you go through the inside of the temple, you can just walk outside, chill, and walk through another gorgeous Japanese garden.
So it is Heavenly Dragon meters. Please enjoy the bridge view with the...
We have made it to Arashiyama, which is a scenic district of Kyoto. It's pretty far west, I'm not gonna lie, but it's in all of this greenery over here. They have a nice river, a cool bridge to cross, but the iconic place to visit here is the bamboo forest, which I heard can kind of be a tourist trap, low-key, but we're gonna walk through that and then go see a temple in this area as well. Yeah, the crowds walking on the path toward the bamboo forest was diabolical. Shoulder to shoulder with cars just zooming right by you, coming within 2 feet of hitting you. But thankfully, the crowds weren't too bad once we got into the forest, which was surprising. But here we are. The bamboo can get up to over 80 feet tall. And it's kind of crazy being here because I've literally seen this exact site on my Windows computer wallpaper before. The sounds from inside the forest are very peaceful. It's a little bit crowded as I'm walking through the forest, but it's not anything too bad. But if I had this whole thing to myself, I would be at peak peace. Literally right next to the bamboo forest, there is another temple called the Tenryu-ji Temple. I hope that's how you pronounce it. I'm not quite sure, but this is actually a World Cultural Heritage Site. This temple is pretty cool because not only is it setting adjacent to a beautiful lake, but you can also take a short trail up to get some views of the surrounding area and the temple from above. This was definitely a quicker stop. We spent maybe 30 minutes here, but super easy to fit in with the bamboo forest.
You can try here.
Our next stop takes us to the Golden Temple. Yeah, that looks pretty golden to me, but this was built for one of the Japanese shogun in the late 1300s, and then it was later converted into a Buddhist temple after his death in the early 1400s. The original Golden Temple, or Kinkakuji, was actually burned down in the 1950s, but the exact replica that we are currently looking at was built in 1955. With these vending machines here in Japan, it's always a toss-up what I'm gonna get. If I'm not choosing water and I choose like a soda or another type of drink, it's always, I have no idea honestly what I'm getting. I tried to get like a lemonade, and it came out like this. I thought the can was gonna look quite different. So honestly, I have no idea what this is. It may be an energy drink. All it says ultra strong lemon. All right, the next stop. It's probably the most famous and popular spot in all of Kyoto. We are about to enter the Fushimi Inari shrine, and this is a Shinto shrine, and Shinto is an indigenous Japanese religion, and Shinto shrines are always marked by these gates, and these gates are called torii gates. And the very interesting thing about this shrine is that it has thousands, literally thousands of these torii gates scattered across the whole entire shrine. So right now we're at the main shrine area, and I think if you just walk over that way, you will see the thousands of torii gates just all lined up, stacked like right behind each other. So walking up to the path that leads to the thousands of torii gates was a little bit crowded. Yeah, we literally came to a standstill several times, but we made it to the start of the path, and the pathway through the gates was super narrow for the amount of people trying to pass through. Like, definitely pretty overwhelming. And I just wanted to show you this clip here. Look at how close the torii gates are placed behind one another. Like, some literally lean up against each other, which is crazy. But as we progressed down the path further away from the main temple area, I finally felt like I could breathe again because people, they were not like right on top of me. So the shrine sits in Mount Inari, and as you can see, we're still walking through all of these torii gates here, but actually you can climb to the top of the mountain. It's about like a 2 to 3 hour a round trip like loop around the mountain where you pass a ton of more torii gates, and then you eventually reach the top of the mountain, which I've heard is pretty good views of the city of Kyoto. So that's cool. So I'm gonna do that.
So pretty much the whole hike, we were going under these torii gates, and then you'd pass dozens of mini shrines. We passed this cool lake right here. I think this might have been a hotel, but don't quote me on that. Anyways, about midway through the hike, we made it to this sick lookout point, and this was probably my favorite part of the whole entire hike. And you could not only see Kyoto, but you could also see the city of Osaka, which is crazy because these cities are 30 miles apart.
I think this should be the last final push here. The whole entire thing has been pretty much underneath these torii gates, which I guess I wasn't really expecting that, but I probably should have. So the top of Mount Inari is marked by another shrine, and so we reached that just a minute ago, and now we're starting our descent down, or I guess technically just finishing out the loop, because this whole trail is just like a 2.5 mile loop around the whole shrine.
On the way back down, the highlights, they consisted of, yep, you guessed it, walking through some more torii gates. We stopped again at this lookout point, and it wasn't quite sunset, but low-key, it was close enough, and the sky, it was kind of glowing a little bit. We passed through some more torii gates, because why not? And then we made it down to the base of Mount Inari and back to the main temple area of Fushimi Inari.
All right, we have finished up the loop. We are back at the main shrine area. Took us about an hour and a half, but now it's time to take the train back to our hotel.
So the rest of the night, we just spent waiting. Yes, I'm being very serious. After we got ready for dinner, we queued up to get into this dumpling place, and this line may not look long, but it took 3 hours, which honestly just makes me sad. And the food was good, but no food is worth waiting 3 hours for.
Hello. It's another beautiful day out here in Kyoto, and to start things off today, I'm going to walk Philosopher's Path, which is a 2-kilometer path where you pass by temples, a bunch of beautiful trees, and it's just like a very calming and reflective path that you kind of walk along in Kyoto. To get here from my hotel, I have to take the city bus, which I haven't done at all here in Japan. I've only taken the train system, so I hope I can use my Suica card, and I hope it's not too difficult to figure out.
All right, welcome to the Philosopher's Path. I was honestly confused if I was in the right place for the first 30 minutes because there was no signs, but then I found this canal and figured this had to be it. The canal seemed to be the centerpiece of the Philosopher's Path, and then you can take different side streets to see different temples and different shrines, and also some cemeteries.
Made my way to Ginkakuji Temple, and I saw a lot of people walking to this temple along the Philosopher's Path, so I decided to follow them, and I think this is one of the bigger temples and more famous temples on the Philosopher's Path.
This place has a beautiful location in the mountains, and also it had a nice moss garden in the area. The temple itself reminded me of the Golden Temple that we saw yesterday with its structure and location, and I later came to find out that this is also known as the Silver Pavilion, so hey, maybe they are sibling temples. You could also climb up a little bit onto the mountain, and you could get some pretty pristine views of the temple and the surrounding area, which was very nice. After Ginkakuji, I walked over to another temple whose name I will not try and pronounce, and this temple was pretty small, but it was very beautiful, especially with the landscaping and all the bushes.
I honestly haven't found this attraction to be too busy or too filled with tourists. Actually, this is one of the more quieter attractions that I've done here in Kyoto. There's not many people on the path, and I'm doing this like right in the middle of the day, so I heard a lot of people said this gets quite busy. But even if it gets busy, I think you can kind of go to those like side roads there are those more like residential roads I was walking on to get to some of the temples itself if you don't want to be like overwhelmed with people on the path itself.
So I later learned that during cherry blossom season, this path is packed, but besides that, it's relatively quiet. I walked to the end of Philosopher's Path, and that brought me to Nanzenji, which had several massive temples within the complex. I literally felt like an ant. Like, look at how big that is. That is massive. But this complex had numerous different temples, so I spent 30 minutes just walking around here, and then it was time to hop back on the city bus to go back to the heart of Kyoto.
So here in Kyoto, there happens to be a nice little street market called Nishiki Market. So I'm gonna go eat some food there. All right, I just had to show this really quick. Look at this queue to line up for a sneaker store in the mall. Huh? I don't even want to estimate how long that line is, but whatever it is, it's way too long.
Those shoes, they better make you run a 4-minute mile for that wait to be worth it. But anyways, made it to the Nishiki market. And hey, this is the main event for food tasting. We got some plantain chips here. And then we got some scallions. I don't know what that sauce was, but it was very fire. If you see this in Japan, just get it. It's curry bread and the inside is filled with Japanese curry. It's so good, but it was not as good as this Wagyu beef noodle dish with an egg. This was hands down my favorite thing I tried at any food market in Japan. It was literally so scrumptious.
All right, I'm pretty excited for this one. We are going to TeamLab Biovortex. The TeamLab museums, they're a set of digital art museums they have some locations in Asia. I think they have some in the Middle East now, but I've seen pictures and videos of this, some of the rooms and stuff in this museum on social media, and it looks absolutely insane. The Biovortex one, I'm pretty sure this is the newest one, so really looking forward to getting to experience this. Oh man, TeamLab Biovortex, that was super cool. That has to be the coolest art exhibit that I've ever been to in my whole entire life. The visuals obviously are spectacular, but what's really cool is that every single room you go into with the different artwork, it has music playing or it has some sort of sound effects that basically play on with the artwork itself, and it kind of ties everything up into a story. Because honestly, like I'm pretty sure all the rooms, actually the artwork is supposed to be telling a story, which is really cool. And some of them are interactive too, so you can literally like touch them, play with them. One thing I will say is it's pretty easy to get lost in there. There's no maps or anything like that. You can download the TeamLab app and that can kind of help guide you through, but as we were walking around, especially on that first level, it did kind of get lost a few times, but I'm pretty sure we hit all the rooms, hopefully. There is a lot of hype around this attraction, but I can definitely say that it was for sure worth the hype. All right, now it is time to eat some ramen from Japan.
That last clip was matcha ice cream, which was a pretty tough eat, I'm not gonna lie. But with that being said, my time in Kyoto came to an end. The next day we took a day trip out to Nara to see some of the temples in the area, and then of course, the world famous Nara deer. They were pretty funny, but low-key, once you get crackers to feed them, they are very aggressive. They will follow you and just start to nibble and bite at you if you're not like giving them the full crackers. And you can't just break off a part of it and give it to them. You have to give them like the whole cracker. But it was a cool experience to come here. Kyoto though, I liked Kyoto a little bit better than Tokyo, I think, and I hope that one day you get the opportunity to travel here, and I'm gonna keep exploring the world and you should keep exploring the world too. Okay, goodbye.